Welcome to the Better Jobs Ontario Program Information Session. This session is being presented by Edwina Lawton, who is one of the employment consultants at Sheridan Community Employment Services and the Better Jobs Ontario Program Advisor. This program was formerly known as Second Career and recently expanded to increase eligibility to support individuals with their retraining needs. For more information on our job search supports here at Sheridan, please feel free to contact our Resource Center. Contact information will be included at the end of the presentation. Better Jobs Ontario is funded by the Ministry of Labour Training and Skills Development to support unemployed individuals in need of skills training to help find employment in in-demand occupations with demonstrated labour market prospects in Ontario. This initiative is supported by Employment Ontario Employment Services. Thank you for joining us today. Let's get started. This information session will provide you with a thorough overview of the Better Jobs Ontario program, the training that is funded, how to know if it is right for you, expectations of the applicant and employment service provider, and much more. Please note that this presentation cannot be used, shared, or copied without the permission of the creator. To start our session today, we will take a look at what the Better Jobs Ontario program entails and the eligibility criteria. This includes through the Fast Track and Fee Payer streams. We will take a look at suitability and the financial needs assessments. We will also review some helpful definitions and terms used throughout the program and your application. Following this, we will look at what training is allowable, how much funding is available, and what it covers, and additional supports for individuals with accessibility needs or disabilities. By the end of the session, you will know your next steps and who to contact with any follow-up questions. There are three distinct and incremental levels of assessment to determine participation in the Better Jobs Ontario program. Individuals will be assessed against the eligibility and suitability requirements by employment service providers, such as Sheridan Community Employment Services, and the Ministry will assess the financial requirement through a formal application for funding. This will be reviewed later on in the presentation. Eligibility determines the baseline requirements for the program. Suitability determines the need and priority for training and makes sure those deemed eligible are also appropriate for the program. Financial assessment. Here, the Ministry will determine the amount of Better Jobs Ontario financial assistance available to individuals who are deemed eligible and suitable. Employment Ontario is the province's one-stop shop service that offers a variety of employment, training, and labour market programs to millions of Ontarians. Sheridan College has been one of these providers for over 40 years. It is important to note that individuals interested in becoming certified in a skilled trade are encouraged to explore apprenticeship programs, and internationally trained professionals must explore the Ontario Bridge training programs prior to exploring Better Jobs Ontario. Better Jobs Ontario is a redesign of the Second Career program, offering increased eligibility for training to individuals in need. It has been updated to include a Fast Track stream and an online portal for client applications to streamline the application process and provide enhanced financial support when needed. The Ministry has enhanced the participant experience by reducing application wait times and addressed financial needs to better reflect current costs of living. The objective is to support unemployed individuals in need of skills training to help them find employment in in-demand occupations with demonstrated labour market prospects in Ontario. This is done by the most cost-effective path. The Better Jobs Ontario program is intended for individuals who do not have the financial resources to access training. To be eligible, individuals must have been laid off and unemployed or be from a low-income household and experiencing challenges attaching to the labour market. In addition, individuals must be a resident of Ontario, be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, some exceptions do apply, and be able to demonstrate occupational demand for skills training with evidence of good employment prospects locally or within Ontario. On this slide, we have included some terms that you will see throughout the presentation and in the documents you will receive to apply for Better Jobs Ontario. The definitions are available for you on pages 2 and 3 of the Better Jobs Ontario information sheet that is available for you by email, and which you will be required to review prior to your assessment appointment. Now let's look at the eligibility for Better Jobs Ontario. First, we will review the eligibility for the layoff stream. Laid off and unemployed individuals include the following: those who have received a formal layoff from their last employer, those with a fixed-term employment contract which has ended, those who have received EI Part 1 maternity or parental benefits and are seeking to re-enter the workforce, those who have left work due to medical reasons, and those who have been laid off and then become self-employed. Individuals who were laid off can still be considered unemployed if they are working less than 20 hours a week, have taken an interim job to earn enough income for basic needs after their initial layoff, or are continuing to receive salary via salary continuance or received severance pay. Individuals laid off from another country with demonstrated evidence of their layoff may be considered for the program. An interim job is a job that an individual takes while seeking better employment. An interim job must be a low skill level job, NOC-D, but may be full-time, part-time, seasonal, or temporary contract work. Clients receiving severance or salary continuation will not be impacted in terms of eligibility, but any income will be taken into consideration in the assessment for financial assistance. Next, let's look at the eligibility for Better Jobs Ontario for those applying through the low-income household with challenges attaching to the labor market stream. For the purpose of the program, individuals applying through this stream must meet all of the criteria below. They do not have a layoff event. If there has been a layoff event, individuals must apply through the layoff stream. They have been unemployed for 6 months or longer. This means individuals are without work, but actively seeking employment and currently available to start work, or not working more than 20 hours per week, or engaging in self-employment without a business number for 20 hours per week or less. They must also be part of a household where the combined income of the individual and the spouse or partner is at or below the low income cutoff thresholds for the last 6 months. We have also provided a link on this slide for you. Individuals must also have had a 2-year period where they did not attend high school. Another important note: individuals with a 900 series social insurance number and an open work permit pending permanent residency are eligible to apply for Better Jobs Ontario. These include protected persons and those in Canada on a temporary work permit who have been granted permanent resident status. Refugee claimants with a 900 series social insurance number and an open permit are also eligible for consideration. Proof of status is required. There are also some exceptions and considerations for eligible individuals, which can be discussed with your advisor. These include laid off individuals who are in receipt of a recall to work notice, individuals who took an early retirement due to a business closing, individuals who quit or were fired from an interim job after being laid off, or those who quit low-level jobs but are going through the low-income stream, and individuals who are seasonally employed. Before we go on, let's take a look at who would be considered ineligible to apply for Better Jobs Ontario. This would include individuals who are restricted from receiving assistance under the Ontario Student Assistance Program, individuals including fee payers who begin their skills training before being approved by the ministry, individuals who were laid off and who subsequently worked in a full-time job but quit or were terminated from that job, individuals working in a full-time job after maternity or parental benefits have ended, as they are considered to have re-entered the workforce, individuals in a work-sharing program, or international students and temporary foreign workers with a 900 series social insurance number. On the next slide, we'll take a look at a few more. There are a few more categories in which individuals would be deemed ineligible to apply for Better Jobs Ontario. This includes individuals who completed a skills training program within the last 2 years through Ontario government funding. Exceptions would be individuals who receive skills training in an occupation with low occupational outlook to retrain to marketable, in-demand occupations based on local, community, and provincial priorities, and vulnerable youth, such as justice-involved youth, youth with disabilities, and youth in extended society care. Individuals intending to return to school in the upcoming academic year and who have not made a transition from school to work. Individuals who return to school after casual employment, individuals who have taken a leave of absence from their employment, and individuals who quit or were terminated from their employment. Let's look at eligible skills training under the Better Jobs Ontario program. Individuals must demonstrate that the proposed training is vocational in nature and delivers all the skills and knowledge required to gain employment in a specific occupation and is designed for an occupation in which an individual can demonstrate occupational demand and evidence of good employment prospects within Ontario. The maximum length of the program is 1 year. This includes breaks, vacations, and placement if applicable. This excludes a maximum of 1 calendar year for literacy and basic skills training or language training. This may be exceeded to meet the special needs of persons with disabilities. Non-vocational and professional development programs and single-skill courses such as First Aid, WHMIS, Word, Excel, etc. are not eligible for funding. Individuals who select a training program for an in-scope occupation based on it being a local community or provincial priority area are not required to provide evidence of good employment prospects as part of their application. Otherwise, individuals will have to provide evidence of good employment prospects by demonstrating occupational demand as having above average outlook at either the provincial or regional level, submission of currently advertised job opportunities, local job board information, attestations from employers that they are hiring for the occupation, or evidence of future job opportunities. An important reminder, internationally trained professionals must research and access the Ontario Bridge training programs if feasible. If not, this must be discussed in their application. Skills training is allowable for NOC B and C occupations and equivalent with good employment prospects in Ontario. This includes programs provided by universities. Individuals must research both public and private colleges and institutions as part of their application. The application for financial assistance will be based on the occupation, which is identified by the NOC code, not the specific training program. Please keep this in mind as many programs train for various occupations. Some may be NOC A and some may be NOC B or C. The second digit in the 4-digit NOC code represents the skill level, and this must be a 2, 3, 4, or 5 to be considered eligible for Better Jobs Ontario funding. Individuals in the regular and fast track stream may be eligible for NOC A training, where the second digit is a 0 or 1, if it is for one of the identified in-scope occupations, which was discussed on the previous slide. The skills training must lead to a credential, such as a micro-credential, a certificate, or a diploma. A few important details to look at when applying to Better Jobs Ontario are considerations for continuing education and part-time studies, programs with combination or bundled skills training, programs with clinical placements, work placements, and practicums, and programs with certification exams as part of the skills training program. Please feel free to pause this presentation to review this if it applies to you. Let's take a brief look at Fast Track and Fee Payer applications for Better Jobs Ontario funding. If you feel like either of these situations may be applicable to you, please speak to your advisor. Fast Track applications are temporary. This was put in place due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Individuals must meet all of the criteria listed on this slide to be eligible to apply through this stream. Fee payer applications are for EI Part 1 claimants who have requested and received Section 25 approval from the Ministry to continue to collect EI benefits for the duration of their training. Again, if either of these apply to you, please be sure to let your advisor know. We have reviewed the baseline assessment for the Better Jobs Ontario program. Now we will review suitability, which will help employment service providers and the ministry support individuals who are most appropriate for the Better Jobs Ontario program. Individuals must meet the eligibility requirements to be assessed for suitability, the second level of assessment through a formal assessment appointment. Individuals must score 16 points or higher to proceed with the financial application for Better Jobs Ontario. We will review all 7 of these criteria in detail on the next few slides, but feel free to pull up your copy of this matrix sent by email or snap a quick picture so you can calculate what points you think you may be awarded. Here we will look at the first 3 suitability criteria that individuals will be scored against to see if they meet the 16 points. The first is the amount of time of active job search. This will include the details of job search and a look at the dedication of time and effort into preparing, researching, and pursuing work in fields relating to an individual's work experience, skills, and education or training. An individual's participation in employment services is considered evidence of an active job search. You must list all of your activities on a job search log. This includes creation of the job search documents, workshop participation, review of job postings, career and labor market research, attendance at job fairs, cold calling, networking, etc. The next criteria is the duration of unemployment. This is the number of weeks that an individual has been out of work based on the layoff date. For individuals with limited labor market attachment that do not have a layoff date, duration of unemployment is the number of weeks that an individual has met the definition of unemployed. The third criteria is your educational attainment. This looks at the highest education level an individual has completed. If the education was completed outside of Canada, use the credential evaluation results. If the credentials have not been evaluated, the credential that you currently hold is what will be used. The next criteria we will look at is work history. This is the length of time and extent to which an individual's work history in Canada or abroad impacts their ability to attach to the labor market. Following that, we will look at in-demand occupational requirements. And individuals must know their training occupation goal prior to scoring this criteria. Individuals will be deemed more suitable if the chosen training will lead to a credential or license. This means that a license or credential is required to work in the field. If not, individuals will score slightly lower in this area. Next, we will look at the type of skills training. So skills training that leads to a credential and qualifies for additional Better Job Ontario skills training considerations is taken into consideration here. So if the program leads directly to a credential and employment, individuals will score higher. Individuals who require academic upgrading or language training prior to the Better Jobs Ontario training will receive a slightly lower score here. The final criteria we will look at is occupational experience. This is the extent of skills and experience that an individual possesses that is relevant to the current labor market and available opportunities. This demonstrates the need for retraining. Individuals coming from NOC A occupations or NOC B or C occupations in areas where there are good employment prospects, as well as individuals with no work history, will score a 0 in this section. If you think you will meet the 16 points needed, you may be a good candidate for Better Jobs Ontario. Speak to your employment consultant today. We have now covered eligibility and suitability. If you get to this point and meet the criteria, you will be ready to start a formal application for Better Jobs Ontario funding to the ministry. This application will be completed independently by the individual, but your advisor will support you, answer questions, and you are welcome to use our Resource Center to work on and complete your application. Assistance will be available by the Resource Center team if needed, and an appointment may be required. Contact the Resource Center directly. Let's take a look at the assessment and application now. When preparing your financial application through Better Jobs Ontario, you can apply for up to $28,000 in costs, including tuition, books, other instructional costs, transportation, and basic living allowance. Additional funding may also be available for childcare and dependent care needs, disability-related supports, living away from home, and literacy and basic skills, and/or language training if required. If you meet the eligibility and suitability assessment, your final step will be your Better Jobs Ontario application for financial assistance. Once you are ready to begin your application, please let your advisor know, and you will be sent the Completing Your Better Jobs Ontario Program Application PDF, which will walk you through the application step by step. Please do not start your program until the application is complete and you have received ministry approval. This can take 4 to 6 weeks after submission. The Better Jobs Ontario program has a $28,000 maximum for all costs. This excludes disability needs, dependent care, living away from home allowance, and all costs relating to literacy and basic skills and/or language upgrading training. The final financial needs assessment is at the discretion of the ministry. The Better Jobs Ontario Financial Needs Assessment considers the following: the participant and spousal or partner income and potential resulting financial need for a living allowance, which is a maximum of $500 a week, a transportation allowance of $45 a week, and a training access payment for individuals with household incomes below the low income cutoff of $350 to support upfront costs. A skills training and incremental costs, including tuition, other instructional costs, and dependent care, and costs associated with disability needs. Let's now take a look at what your application for financial assistance through the Better Jobs Ontario program will look like. Let's take a look at what an application looks like. We won't go into too much detail on each of these steps, as we have created a full step-by-step document for you to use when you are ready to get started and complete your application. These next few slides will provide a quick overview to help you decide if this program is right for you. First, you will be required to confirm your target occupation. This may be through career assessments, occupational profile research, and ultimately ensuring that there are above average employment prospects. You will be required to submit these career assessments, if applicable, and complete labor market reports for your current skill set occupation and target occupation. Your advisor will be able to send you templates for these reports. You will also gather 3 job postings for your target occupation at this step. Next, you will confirm your skills training provider and your program acceptance. You will be required to research 3 training institutions and obtain all required acceptance letters and documents from your training provider of choice to submit to the ministry. Next, you will complete your Better Jobs Ontario application for financial assistance application form. The ministry requests you do so using the Employment Ontario portal, and you will be sent a secure link by your advisor. Next, you will be required to submit your job search documentation. This includes your job search log and critiqued resume. If you have not participated in our workshop series, your recommended step is to register for the resume workshop now and any others that may help with your job search. If applicable, you will complete a request for financial assistance for dependent care costs. You will need to research providers and fill out a few forms for this request. Your advisor will provide you with those forms. If applicable, you can request financial assistance to support disability needs. You are recommended, but not required, to write and submit a personal letter. This will be read by the ministry consultant working with your file. This will identify barriers which prevent you from finding sustainable employment with your current skills, provide information about your previous work experience and how it relates to your training goal. Lastly, you will provide a contingency plan. What options will you have to fund this training if you are not approved for Better Jobs Ontario? Please be sure to include this in your personal letter. We hope you enjoyed this overview of the Better Jobs Ontario program and how Sheridan Community Employment Services can support you in your job search and application for retraining. Please be sure to notify your advisor when you are finished your application. It will need to be reviewed and a letter of support will be written and submitted to support this application. Please allow 3 to 5 business days for this step, plus another 4 to 6 weeks for your ministry review and approval. Please keep your advisor updated regularly. Are you currently a client that's registered with Sheridan Community Employment Services? If so, speak to your employment consultant to book a Better Jobs Ontario assessment appointment and determine your eligibility and suitability. If you're not yet registered, please contact our Resource Center team today to register and connect with one of our employment consultants. On this slide, we have included our contact information. We hope to hear from you soon.